Okay, everybody, welcome to the Backstage Pastor.
Nice.
I've done that so many times. It's already
I
getting
know.
old. And this is only our third
I
podcast.
was going to say it with my mouth. Ba-dum, psh.
I have the one, the only, the beautiful
The wonderful, fantastic.
Tiana Noble with me today. And we have nobody else. It's just us, a married couple. Some of the leaders of Evangel.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very excited. We are excited and fearful.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of fear, which is a good thing
Yeah. Yeah.
about today's podcast. But we've been wanting to talk about this and process a lot of the backstage stuff in leadership. Obviously, this is called the Backstage Pastor. And with that is processing life for us as
Right.
spiritual leaders or
Mm-hmm.
local church leaders, and what it's like for us, ups and downs, highs and lows, wins and losses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it would be amazing to bring my bride of 10 years, by the way.
Yeah.
We're 10
just
years.
barely 10 years.
10 years as of September 27.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, today we're recording this October 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Marks exactly 10 years
Oh,
that
that's
I've
right.
been
Since
working at
you-
Evangel.
Yeah, since you've
Wow.
been pastoring
Yes.
as an associate pastor at that point.
Yep.
Or youth pastor.
Yep. Youth associate, online pastor through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. 10 years. Am I that old, hun?
Yeah,
Did
you
you-
are. Not 10
Did-
years for me. It's only been 10 years for you. Just
You married an oldie,
Yep.
34,
Mm-hmm.
and you're 28.
Yep, I'm the baby in our relationship.
Wow. So anyway, wow. It's been 10 years.
Did you say you were 34?
Yeah.
I thought you were 33.
I'm 34.
Are you 34?
No, you asked. I remember you asked that the other day, and I said 33 kidding. But then I actually totally forgot to correct you.
Oh, that's funny. Like, for a second, you're not 34.
Yes, I'm 34.
That's-
1990.
Oops,
I think.
not
Somebody
bad.
do the math. I'm 34. I'm almost 6 years older,
Yeah, that's
older
right,
than you.
that's right.
So,
Oops.
you young one. And anyway, okay. So, let's stay on track here.
Yeah.
What is on track? We have our amazing coffees here with our Nespresso.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking it black, actually, by the way.
Oh, that's good.
I never drink it black.
One of our big differences, I drink my coffee black. Jimmy always likes sweet and creamy.
Yeah, it's true. I like sweet.
Well,
and creamy.
we've been lead pastoring for almost 2 years. And we have just...
Wait. I have a little game first.
Okay.
Fun.
Okay.
Trust me, you will like this.
Yes.
How about we say one thing that we like about each other?
Oh, that's a fun
First.
game. Sure.
I mean, you could say 2 or 10 if you want. Who goes first, you or me, hun?
You have to go first because it's
Okay.
your game.
I'll go first. Here is one thing that I like about you.
Mm.
Trying to think of something new and just wild.
Mm.
I love how pure-hearted you are.
Mm.
Like, I think a lot of times you can see somebody, because you're the worship pastor at Evangel, overseeing all the worship. Tiana's overseeing all the worship stuff, scheduling, where we're going, tryouts, worship nights, everything. And I think a lot of times you can see a leader and their on stage life looks like their best, most attractive life.
Mm.
But when I look at you, there's so much purity and wholeness behind who you are. And I genuinely see you, hon. I'm not just trying to pump your tires.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this.
I genuinely see you as a person of such depth, and actually a prophetic word that was spoken over you as a standard or benchmark in holiness. And when I say holiness, I don't mean like legalism and like, oh, somebody's better than somebody else, but just like a person who has thrown aside every weight to run after Jesus. So just like so much more behind the stage or the worship pastor or the person singing. Like you have such a pure heart. Is that what I first said, or did I kind of just say several things?
Well, you expounded really well on that, but the purity thing, yeah, that's really cool.
And specifically like the last year, hon. The last several months, I think I've been awakened to it. Like how, like I look up to you, girl. I look up to you.
While you're looking down to me.
I want to, I want to marry you.
Okay.
Let me marry you. Will you marry me?
Sure. Done.
Okay. What's something?
Wow. You went.
I mean, I don't want to force this, but I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I love about you that you're so lighthearted. Like just, I don't know, just the way that you even bear weights and bear whatever. Like you're just so good at being so lighthearted about everything, and not in a flippant way or in a like not taking life seriously way, but in like just general lightness. And I don't know what that is about you, that you can just like be light even when your wife is being heavy.
My wife is heavy sometimes.
Yeah. And that you just carry a lightness even with the kids at home.
Aww.
The craziness, and even when stuff gets to you, like maybe when I haven't swept the floor after the kids were on the beach and it's really sandy. Even when stuff gets to you, I feel like you don't get heavy and like down in the dumps. Like that never is you. You're frustrated, you move on or whatever, you know? Like.
Or I do the dishes really quick.
Yeah, or you just
Make
get a broom and
myself feel
start sweeping.
I think, son. That was not planned.
Yeah, that was not planned.
But thanks.
Well, actually, none of this is really that planned.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The only plan is we want to be vulnerable in our leadership and bring our people in on our life, which we don't. There's not necessarily a place for it on Sunday or the time for it, and maybe it just doesn't feel right. Like could feel a little selfish, but here we can just process. Okay, so
yeah,
you were saying starting to
so just
talk
saying
about our
that
marriage.
so we started pastoring. I think the place that we were in before lead pastoring, we were antsy for something, right? We felt like the Lord was doing something, but we didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then when my dad decided that he felt like he was supposed to step away from the roles of
Could I just back up a little bit?
Sure, back up further
to another church opportunity.
Sure. So but we sensed something coming. Jimmy really had this huge desire to lead a church. And even though he did a great job as an associate pastor, it was still like this huge desire and you were getting pretty antsy in that. I mean, I was in the middle of babies and being pregnant, so I probably wasn't feeling it as much as you. But
every antsy's just a good word, and it wasn't even like to this desire to lead pastor alone. Like there was lots of directions that it felt like we could take. Like I've always been business minded, always been interested in real estate, always been interested in the stock market, in building a business, all these different things. Lots of different things. I mean, lots of hobbies and stuff too. And so for probably a long time, I don't even know how many years, just really struggling. You loved that season.
Yeah, I did. Life was slow,
simple.
Jimmy didn't have this big weights on his shoulder because my dad had those big weights on his shoulder.
Yeah.
We lived in a new duplex with a small yard.
Yeah. There was nothing
No
I could do to
upkeep.
make it better.
There was no upkeep
No
hardly at
renos
all.
needed.
Just
Yeah.
needed to mow the lawn and shovel
The-
the driveway.
The big lawn, 600 square foot lawn. I'd be like, honey, I'm going to mow the lawn today. And I'd fire up the mower and be done 3 minutes later.
Yep.
But I was very lost in that season. But you know what's interesting? I've told you this. It felt like every evening I'd come home and be like, hon, what am I doing?
Yeah, right.
I want to go start a business. I want to, lead pastor. I want to, whatever it is. And every time I went to JC,
Yeah,
not Joel Conkin,
to the Lord.
to Jesus Christ, he said, I get it. I get it. But you humble yourself in my sight, and in my timing, I'll be the one that lifts you up. In my timing, I'll be the one that sets you in motion. Somebody said the waiting season is never the wasted season.
Right, that was a huge motto for a long time for us.
Girl, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. It felt like, it didn't feel like the wasted season.
But it could have felt that way.
It did.
Especially once we started to feel antsy and feel like a change was coming, then you start to feel like, why are we still waiting?
Yeah, I've been here 6 years. I've been here 7 years. I've been here 8 years. But also, it wasn't all bad. There was tons.
Totally. I mean,
So many amazing things.
even just the headspace that Jimmy had as not having this massive load on his shoulders, like out of boredom, he would just play games with the kids for like 2 hours every night. Actually,
I must have looked like the perfect father. So present.
He was, yes, but I mean, he was bored. That was partly why.
Bored and present.
Bored and present. And so there was some really good things. Like, I feel like our family really actually our family was built on a really solid foundation in that season.
Oh yeah, dude. Our trampoline. The sheer amount of hours we spent on our trampoline. Our backyard was probably 600 square feet, and our trampoline was probably 400 square feet. And we fit it in our backyard. And we just played endless amounts of games on there.
Yeah.
But we felt very strongly the word that we took for ourselves was the waiting season is not the wasted season. Don't worry. Anytime I would go journaling with Jesus, like, what are you doing? Am I supposed to leave? What are we doing? He'd be like, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. I'm working on you. I'm working on your character. I want you to be a person that has the capacity to carry what I'm about to give you.
Right.
And I don't want to, the verse in scripture, don't cast your pearls before swine.
Mm-hmm.
I have felt like Jesus has said that over our church in terms of stewarding the miraculous, signs and wonders, finances, character, everything. But I have felt that in terms of me personally, our character, Jesus saying to us, I don't cast my pearls before swine. Like, this might be your calling. This might be where I'm taking you, but I'm not just going to give it out willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. I need to know that you have the capacity to carry it, because if you don't, you will implode. And we've seen that so many times. Who was it that said, your character, your gifting will get you where your character can't keep you.
Right.
That was huge. When I heard that, I think maybe that was Chad Veach. Your gifting will get you where your character can't keep you. In other words, you can be gifted, you can be talented, and you can go these places, but your character is not formed enough to hold you there or for you to walk in humility. So that was that.
That was what our season was building this character and laying this foundation.
Yes, that was huge for that season. And we knew from the Lord, nope, just wait. Okay. So then about 7 years into pastoring, maybe 6, we got an invitation from a church, or somebody emailed us or something and said, hey, you guys should apply as lead pastors. We're looking for a lead pastor. And so we prayed about it. There was prophetic words spoken over us.
Yeah.
It seemed so right.
It seemed very clear that this is what the Lord has for us.
Yeah.
To move from Fort St. John to another city.
To Hawaii.
Yeah.
We knew the Lord was on it.
Yeah. No, not
No,
Hawaii.
it wasn't Hawaii. But it just felt like the Lord's on this. Wow. This is why. This is the reason. So we went ahead with it. We did some interviews, put our name in. Things were just seemed to be going amazing. And then all of a sudden, one day, I just get this text. Hey, thanks for putting your name in. We have prayed about it, and we found somebody else. Goodbye.
Jimmy likes to call that the great rejection.
The great rejection. That's what it felt like.
We were so sure. We were looking at houses. We'd even gone and looked with a real estate agent, looked around, looked at houses. We were so sure that this is what the Lord had for us. And we were very confused.
Yes. So I get that email. I think you were gone, and I just feel gutted. And it just felt so maybe non-personal. I mean, obviously it was just an email, but we were so certain that this is what the Lord had. And then the door slammed in our faces and hit my nose and gave me a bloody nose while it slammed. That's what it felt like. And so I tell people, it felt like we wouldn't know this because we were each other's first dating experience.
Yeah, we never had breakups and stuff.
You almost dumped me though.
I did almost.
I went off to Bible school, and year 2 or year 3.
And I was like, who is this guy? I don't even know him. He's living in a different town. We're not even dating. I just get emails from him every couple of weeks.
Emails.
Yes.
That's right.
Our relationship was founded on emails.
Oh, that was 12 years ago. And your prayer was that he gets Facebook. I actually did get Facebook for you.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
In one of your journals, you said he's thinking of getting Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I got it. You were my first friend on Facebook. And so we'd send emails back and forth. But this girl, anyways, I kid you not, there was just people breaking down the doors for this. There was guys breaking down the doors for this woman. So she's like, hey, she comes to me one time. She's like, listen,
there was some other competition that was looking pretty tempting.
There's like other competition. These guys are handsome. Look at this guy's hair. His car's cooler than mine. He has bigger subs than I have. There was all these things.
No, that was all not true.
Yeah.
Just there was other. Okay, we're super off topic.
Hey, nothing's off topic, girl. We're just talking about our relationship.
It would be fun to do a whole podcast talking about our relationship starting.
Oh yeah,
just for fun.
Just how mature we were.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we email back and forth. Where am I going with this?
I have no idea where this came from.
Okay, wait, give me a minute. It's coming. It's coming.
You were talking about how you didn't we didn't have breakups, and it felt
yes, we didn't have breakups.
Yeah, that's
so
wow.
But then I said we almost broke. You almost broke it off, and then I had to just swoop in like Batman and kind of save you from that mindset and get you again, re-win you over, and then I won you over, and then
I was
lived happily ever after. Got married. So I always tell people that great rejection felt like
a breakup.
It felt like what it would feel like, I assume, what a breakup would feel like, where you have all your plans, you have all your future, you have everything planned out before you. I'm going to marry this girl. We're going to have 17 kids. We're going to live here happily ever after. And then she dumps you. And now what? Okay, everything I thought to be true about my future just got yoinked out from under me.
Right.
And so that's what it felt like. And for 2 weeks, at one point in those 2 weeks, I said to Tiana, I don't know if I've ever been depressed, but
we just felt so lost.
This feels like
hopeless.
the closest to depression I've ever felt.
So hopeless. We knew that the Lord was calling to something. There felt like so much confirmation. Then we were just so confused. So anyways, then from that
point, Lord said, can I say one thing?
Yeah. I feel fear that we're going to take way too long here.
We'll speed up. I mean,
whatever. We could do 2 parts.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could take 3 hours.
Yeah.
No, we won't. But what we felt like the Lord said in that time, he was still saying the waiting season is not the wasted season. But what we felt like, do you remember the two things? We had no idea which way was up. We had no idea which way was down. We had no idea.
Yeah.
And this is just like the Lord. We felt two things very specific in that season. He said, finish your courses. I had 7 more courses that didn't transfer from my undergrad, Prairie Bible School, to PAOC. They wanted me to do 7 kind of Holy Spirit PAOC theology courses. And I just put it off for 6 years or whatever.
Right.
He said, finish those courses and put roots down in the country. Right? And
That's right.
Oh, thanks for that wink.
That was just for you.
Just because you love me. And so
right.
that felt so uprooting. Like, wait, Lord, we don't even know where we're going to be in 2 months. We don't know where we're going to be.
But we did know that
future.
we wanted to be in the country eventually with our kids. And we were kind of waiting for that time to be right. That's kind of a separate thing. And felt like he was saying, okay, now is the time. Move into the country, like find property.
Mm-hmm. It felt so wrong in that season, though. It's like you do not put roots down.
When you're so uncertain.
And the Lord was saying, put roots down. Mm-hmm. So we bought our place. And it was around that time. This is where you were starting the story. And you could pick up. It only took me 30 minutes to share the backstory. Yeah. Pick up from there. Your parents came to us.
So then we had just moved into the cabin. I remember they came, I think like the very first time they came to see us at the cabin.
The same day.
Dropped the bomb. It did feel like a bomb.
What was that?
That they felt like they were supposed to resign from Evangel. Not from Evangel, but they were supposed to move out of the lead role. Yeah. Just something that the Lord had been stirring in them. And I mean, it's so cool to see. We'll have to hear their story at some time.
Yeah. We're going to have them on the pod.
It's so cool to see how the Lord has like worked their story out and led them into things. So they dropped that bomb, and then I don't know exactly how. I think they wanted us to pray about it with them for a couple weeks, remember? And I don't know what if they were because they were had in their minds that we would take the lead pastor role after them. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's lots of just logistics and protocol that has to actually happen. So it's not like that was a guarantee.
Right. It's their desire, but they have to get voted in, surveys sent out, districts involved.
Yeah, so many just random things. And so I feel like we all prayed about it for a couple of weeks. I don't remember that exactly super well. Felt confirmation that this is what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, I remember being very excited right off the bat.
Yeah, it felt really right off the bat. I mean, it probably felt somewhat scarier to me because it's like, these are my parents. My parents have been my pastors, have been lead pastors of Evangel for my whole life,
20 years.
Yeah, and it probably felt scarier to me thinking, I don't even my parents not as the lead pastors of Evangel, like that's who they are. But then I'm not even thinking about the fact that maybe we would be the lead pastors. Like the whole scary thing to me was that my parents are, going to change.
Right. Evangel's my parents' church, and I'm the pastor's daughter. You're having those thoughts.
Yeah, maybe. And so then I don't know what happened from there. Basically.
Okay. So from there, I think we were praying about it because that's where the conversation had to start. Like, does this even like interest you guys? They're praying about it. Apparently they'd been praying about it for like 2-ish years.
Right. Feeling a change. They're feeling a change coming. We were feeling a change coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was a wild time. We're adjusting our new property. And so long story short, maybe we'll crunch this part.
Right. So throughout this year,
to the last year,
that whole year, what happened was so we decided there would be a change. We moved, started renovating our house. We had our 5th baby, which was really hard for me. That was a really hard season for me.
Okay, wait, you fast forwarded.
I'm just saying what all happened in that year between them telling us that they wanted
Were we lead pastoring?
No. And then the end of that year is when we got voted in.
Oh, so Lily was born.
So Lily was born in that year. We moved to that, and then didn't we get that other house in that year too? And so, and we had our 5th baby, had this big property, and then went through all the voting process, which that was a whole bunch of things over a couple months. And then in November, we got voted in as lead pastors.
Yeah.
January 1st, we started as the lead pastors, right?
Yeah. I remember that. Oh, so many things you just whizzed over, but it's good.
I know.
But yeah, we did get voted in. Do you remember sitting back, preaching the call, which is so weird, by the way.
Right.
You preach and then people vote on you.
Yeah, it is
It's
a crazy
so
thing.
weird. Let's change that.
Right, and we were sitting back in the office waiting to hear, did everyone
Yeah,
vote
and then
us
we go back
in?
to the
Or,
office
like,
and it's like,
are we kicked out, or are we brought, like, what happened?
yeah, and it's like, for when you're preaching, you would be lying to say you're not thinking about that. That it's like, people are gonna vote on me after.
Yeah.
What am I gonna say? What am I gonna
Which is
not
also
say?
different with a group of people who've heard you preach a ton and know
Yes,
you really
that
well.
is the other thing. You cannot come in as a rock star where nobody knows you and just preach your favorite wild thing that's always a win. Everyone knows you and knows your strengths and weaknesses. And then we go back to the office and we're just sitting there like, okay, everyone's voting right now.
Yeah,
Brad,
so weird.
who's on the board at the time and now still, comes back and says, "You're in." I think it was 94% or 96%.
Yeah, some
So-
people didn't vote for us, so
Yeah, probably you. Did you not vote for us?
I wasn't allowed to vote.
Maybe it was Tony and Sarah.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it was your parents that didn't vote for us. They backed out last minute. So Tiana and I kind of went around and we were like, was it you? Was it you? Did you not? No, we didn't.
do that. We should have.
No, apparently anything over 90% should give you red flags, Ken was saying.
Under 90%.
Over, because
What?
people just think you're there.
Oh, really?
Perfect in there to
Oh,
say
I
it.
never heard that.
I mean, he was probably saying that to make us feel good.
yeah,
but-
I guess maybe.
Anyway, so all of a sudden now we're lead pastors. It felt
Yeah.
like so amazing.
Totally. It's
This is
like,
what the-
okay, our life is starting almost. That kind
Yeah.
of feeling of like,
And I
we've
always
been
knew,
waiting for this.
without like sounding prideful, I knew like I knew I had what it takes, but I knew that this is what the Lord was calling
Yeah.
us to.
Yeah, and
calling
I
me
felt
to.
that too. I felt super strongly like, wow, I feel like what I carry
Yep.
really actually fits this
Yes.
as like a pastor's wife that's leading a church. Like it felt so good to us.
Yeah, it felt so
Yeah.
right. So a butt ton of things happened.
Yeah.
Like Tiana said, we went from 1 house to 4 in the matter of a year. Probably in a matter of
within
5
the
months.
year, we went from 1 house to 4 houses, 4 kids to 5 kids, and associate pastor to lead pastor.
And we went from the world's lowest maintenance house,
Yes.
brand new. You could not, like, nothing goes wrong with it except a couple things. Brand new house. We went from the world's lowest maintenance house to the world's highest maintenance. We bought a 1951 farmhouse on 3 acres with a Airbnb cabin with 3 acres of lawn to mow, and a pond. Like, just got a dog immediately. Started getting pets. Like, just. And then some other, so all of a sudden Airbnbs, some other rental stuff, becoming a landlord, 5th kid, and lead pastoring, coming out of COVID, the end of COVID.
So it was like our life. We're waiting. Maybe this can be encouragement. Maybe this can be a scare for
And
those
then
of you who are in a waiting season. And then it
boom.
was like this kaboom.
Yeah.
And then that led to the hardest.
Okay, can I say
years
with
of
the
our
kaboom?
marriage.
Yeah, can I? Before
That's
you
what we
get
want to
there,
talk about. We want to talk how hard
well,
it's been.
we want to talk about all of it.
Yeah,
like
that's
we
true.
actually do.
That's true. Yeah.
I definitely don't want to just like rush ahead. I think the process and what the Lord is doing is so important. It's like reading the Old Testament
Yeah.
before the New Testament. It makes way more sense. If you
Right.
have OT.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So in that line, the waiting season is never the wasted season. When
Uh-huh.
the Lord said, "It's time to move. You're ready." Man, does it ever happen fast? It
Yeah.
happens so fast.
Yeah. It is wild.
Like,
yeah.
we are so thankful that we were doing what it takes. I think the one thing I remember is we were saving up for a down payment on a house.
Right.
We were putting away whatever, $1,500 a month, or maybe it was $2,000.
We
It
were,
was like-
we
it was
were,
actually
we
a good
were,
chunk.
we were very diligent about putting away money.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was something that you were
like,
so good
just
at.
working so hard. And it felt every month like, this is useless. Like, really, this is the big thing. We're just like
Saving
stewarding and, like little, this amount of money or whatever. But I was so glad that we were faithful in that waiting season, so that when the Lord said, you're ready, boom, we were ready to step into it. Because if we were not faithful in that mundane, what could have felt like the wasted season, then when he said jump, we would have been like,
wait a second, we're not ready.
We're not ready.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
but we were ready.
Give us another 2 years. But it felt like we were ready. And when he said, you're ready, man, does it happen fast.
Right.
I just want to put an exclamation on that point
true.
on that it's like, man, be in the waiting seasons. It's so important. The waiting season is preparation for where he's taking you.
Yeah. And we could have been waiting around twiddling our thumbs.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe it did feel like that sometimes.
Wrestling the kids on the trampoline for 2 hours.
Yeah. But there was an intentionality. I think maybe because we did feel the Lord speaking to us about that.
Yeah.
Realizing, we've learned to hear the voice of God, and we know that there's a reason, because we can hear his voice. We can hear him guiding us. But it still was so hard, even though we'd heard his voice and knew that there was reasons here. It was still so hard to wait.
Yeah. So the Lord says, jump. He says, okay, you're ready. And not that like all of a sudden our character was just perfect. Yeah. But it was a big growing season. Like even through the whole process of becoming lead pastor.
Yeah.
The vetting process and the surveys and what people are saying about you and what they're filling out in the surveys and how they're perceiving you and the
red flags people have about
the red
us
flags and the transition committee that our district superintendent was involved in, and 3 or maybe 4 people, I think it was actually 4 people were involved in, and some close friends of mine were involved in that. And with the whole purpose, picture this. The whole purpose of that transition committee is to find out your flaws or why you should not be in leadership or why you should be. So imagine you put yourself out there and it's like, wait, there's a group of people and their whole goal is, it feels like, this is wrong, but to tear me apart and find all my bad things.
Right. Totally.
But at the same time, it felt so good that the standard for spiritual leadership of the local church is high, right? That it's like high. Of course that should be vetted. Of course that should be just like, through the laundry pile or whatever. So that was a huge growing time. Very humbling.
Especially for you.
Just, it felt like at every turn things are just being exposed, which doesn't feel good in the time, but now it's like, oh, so glad, super. It just matures you quickly. That was a huge part of the character growth too. So then we jump into lead pastoring. We go from having so much capacity in our lives and such a just kind of dream, pastoring life.
Right. And those first couple months too of pastoring were super exciting. There was I'm sure you guys remember like some of the stuff happening in person and power nights and
some of the wildest things.
We had it was so exciting.
Yeah, just miracles left, right, and center. And obviously not to talk about it as in like the glory days. Like the Lord is still doing so much. But it really just felt like we were not ready for the honeymoon phase. And like that we would get. We didn't think there would be a honeymoon phase, because when a new pastors come in, there's always a honeymoon phase, and it's like, okay, you just put your best foot forward. Everyone's super excited. You're God's gift to man. Woo, you're just gonna save us. We thought that's not gonna happen because we've been here, but we still got to experience that.
Yeah.
Okay, so all this is happening. We're so excited about our real estate business side. The houses. We're so excited about 5 kids. We're so excited about living in the country, a beautiful place. We're so excited about Evangel. We're so excited about church leadership. We're so excited about the new staff. We hired Jordan and Logan almost immediately. That's right. Erica almost immediately. Gigi almost immediately. Admin, kids, and next gen. Vadim stayed here, which is amazing. I had him sign a 30-year contract. I should though. Hey, oh, that guy's so amazing.
Yeah.
They're all the staff are so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You moved into worship pastor officially, right?
Right. I
Just
think I was
from
doing
an
it
honorarium.
unofficially before.
Yeah, not paid, and then it was an honorarium, and then bumped you into some hours. And it just felt like every area of our life was flourishing, except there was one area that painfully we both became more and more aware that this area is in the valley of the shadow of death.
And what brought that to light, what made us realize and understand that? Because I think we were kind of like living off of the high, doing whatever. And then we started connection codes. And connection codes.
You remember those nights?
Yeah. We
went in to connection codes
thinking and we're awesome. We feel like we have a great marriage. We have a great relationship, whatever. And what it felt like the connection codes did is it felt like we had our laundry pile in the corner that wasn't washed, it was just in the corner, and we could kind of ignore it. But in connection codes, we started taking out all these gross pieces of clothing and unearthing this pile of laundry. Wow. That was nasty, that I think probably it had accumulated under the surface our entire marriage. And in connection codes, all of a sudden, it was bringing these things up, which I think was the Lord. I mean, sometimes we're like, it felt like connection codes made things really hard for us. And it did. It was because we had all this stuff going on that we didn't have the tools or the knowledge to like deal with or even recognize.
Yeah. Still to this day, when we promote connection codes, or when I do, not that it's bittersweet, but I know if you go there and let the truths of it, which are biblical truths, take you there, it will be the hardest thing you've ever done.
Yeah, it was very painful for us. And
it wasn't just that though, hon.
That was a part of it. That was the part that I think specifically all of a sudden shone a spotlight on our marriage.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That, I think, just being capacitated out with the real estate, the kids, our lead pastoring. Also, we just celebrated our 10 years. Yeah. So
everyone tells us
10 years is hard. They're like, no, that's hard. It's hard. Maybe they prophesied it and came to be and it happened. But it really feels like the honeymoon of our marriage is over. Yeah. And almost, this sounds weird to say, but for the first time, it's taking sheer work. Yeah. But another thing happened, 5 kids, but then in that we also moved past breastfeeding, right? Pregnancy, right? We decided after 5 kids to finish the child. Thank you, Dr. Hamill. Yeah, the childmaking process. Yeah. Right. So I think was it last summer? Last fall. No, last summer was the very first summer in our marriage. Was it last summer? Yeah. Yeah. That I was not pregnant or breastfeeding. Or have an infant eating rocks. Well, no, Lily was 1, so she was eating rocks. Oh, really? Yeah. But it was the very first summer that I wasn't breastfeeding or pregnant. So for me, on just my side alone, the last few years has been this huge, I mean, I'm sure like other moms out there would just be nodding their heads in the background. Like it's been a huge, like, maybe refining myself and like trying to figure out who the heck are you? Who am I? I've been having babies and like raising toddlers for the last 10 years. And I mean, we still are, right? Our youngest is 2. But so different, like already so different. And I'm thinking, who the heck is this girl? Right. And you're thinking, who the heck is this guy? And you hear this a lot in like, empty nesters. Finally, all the kids are gone. And it's like, who are you? And I think there's probably different phases. But this is one big one where we're just like, wait, who are you? Because we got pregnant 6 months into marriage. Yeah, literally every single summer of our marriage, I've been pregnant or breastfeeding until last summer. Yeah. So that's also happening. So there's a bunch of things with connection codes, leadership in the church, where we just realized our marriage is
in the valley of the shadow of
Yeah, and
death.
I don't even know if it was there yet. Like, I think it was like Connection Codes was really, really, really hard. And even after Connection Codes, we Jordan and Erica were super, super instrumental in our lives at that point.
Yeah.
Really helping us walk through things and deal with things and try to do
Cared
things.
about us.
Well, they were they were so present with us, and we're so thankful for their friendship.
Love you guys.
And that was huge. Like, we feel like that season of our life, we really leaned on Jordan and Erica.
Yeah.
They knew everything that was happening all the time. I mean, probably for quite a while, maybe up until they left even. And
Left for Tennessee.
Yeah.
They're still with us.
Yeah, they're back now, but
yeah. Also your parents too.
Yeah, and then my parents moved. I feel like maybe was it? Yeah. They've been super instrumental, and we've definitely had these voices speaking into our life.
Dr. Glenn and Phyllis.
Yeah, we even had some sessions with Glenn and Phyllis. But even through all that, it felt like the last year and a half, it still was just like nosediving. Our marriage was nosediving.
Yeah. And
like we would have these little like glimpses of like, oh, I think we're doing better now. Oh, I can breathe. And then, oh no, we're still going down. Like literally it's been maybe slow, hard to tell until this, spring, kind of winter, spring. It was just, our marriage was very, very painful. And our home was not peaceful.
That's a good way to put it. Painful.
Yeah, it was
like it was a
painful.
pain for both of us.
It was super painful. We could hardly talk in the evenings.
Yeah, without something blowing up.
Without something blowing up.
Arguing, disagreement.
Well, I could feel emotional thinking about it. It was super painful.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was like going lower, 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 lower until finally we just had this big explosion. And I feel like what I describe it as, I feel like we've been building our marriage as though it's like, I don't know, maybe even a house. Maybe you can even say like we're building our marriage like we're building a house. And there's all these I want to say like, you know, reno project fixes, or like you know, taping over that crack in the wall, or doing this or whatever. And it's like it looks like a house. It's standing like a house, but it felt like this summer the Lord took his giant hammer in heaven and just went
kaboom.
And just shattered our house. And it just felt like everything kind of culminated, and we realized we needed to start building again, all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so we feel like we've had all these different voices in our life, and we kind of had this empty. I don't know. You can jet in whenever.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tim and Cindy too.
Yes,
Bird, who we just had here.
I was gonna say we feel like we had this like kind of space, this big shatter. Then this space of sort of like floating in our marriage, trying to just like figure out how do we start rebuilding our connection, our relationship. Yeah. Like there's just so much mending that had to be done. Mm-hmm. Like we'd hurt each other so much, I think, over the last year. And then the recent people who I think have really helped us start to rebuild it is Tim and Cindy Bird, who were on the podcast, the last podcast.
Yeah.
And it just feels like since that big shatter, we've been in this process of slowly rebuilding this house of our marriage. Mm-hmm. And so right now, even talking about it, it's like it still feels kind of fresh and painful, but we also are in a place of like we have a lot of hope for our marriage. We do feel really connected. We have had lots of just romance since then, you know.
Yeah, and I want to say too, not that it's like perfectly put back together, but we would both say that the Lord has been doing a deep work in both of us.
Yeah.
I actually remember, really not looking forward to evenings. And it's not like, just to be clear too, like we weren't just secretive about it and just dealing with it on our own. Like we weren't like public, like, hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sunday morning. Our marriage sucks.
Yeah. And it's like, we want to be authentic about it, but it is really hard to know how to be in that moment. So we had people who knew. Jordan and Erica always knew.
My accountability.
Luke Jordan and Logan. The board. Like Jordan, my sister Jordan Harder was very present with me through a lot of that pain and was really instrumental, I think, for me in like knowing how to go to the Lord, knowing how to find myself in him, knowing how to like take my pain to him. Like she was super, she was very close to me during that time.
Yeah.
I mean, she still is, but.
Mm-hmm. I remember bringing the board into it too several times, and personal prayer partners, people that we have praying for us, bringing them in like, hey, here's our marriage. Here's what we're dealing with. I remember telling the board, marriage is so hard.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me a few months ago, I forget who it was, maybe actually Tim. And he said, what would you say to somebody who's just going to get married? And I remember just thinking, I don't want to sound like just a negative person about marriage, but I think I would say, like, weigh it, because it'll be the hardest thing you've ever done.
Which is hard to know when you're about to get married. It's
yeah,
like
and you don't even want to say that.
I know, because you don't feel it at all. And it's almost like, well, maybe it's better just to not say anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, because you'll learn.
Well, and you don't want to talk people out. Like, obviously, I've done lots of pre-marriage, and I say the goal is not to, help you have the perfect marriage, but for us to know as leaders whether you are meant for each other or fit for each other. So you don't want to talk people out of it, but just for me making the point that, like, and recognizing it is a very, very hard thing. And you could settle for the low bar, which would be we're cohabitating, or we're business partners,
right?
And we could or we share the same kids and we're parenting together.
We can even like be friends and whatever.
Yeah, even friends and have fun time. But man, is that ever the low bar? And when you want to go deep into connection and actually be connected and have a flourishing marriage, that is just the most difficult thing. And I remember coming home and just being like, not distracting myself. It's not like we were at each other all the time, but it felt like it was becoming this general in the evening when we put the kids to bed.
Which that's not to blame it on that, but putting the kids to bed is also hard.
Oh,
so
don't even get us started.
We have one child.
Yes.
Who has been brutal in the night.
Let's just say our boy child. We won't say names, but our son.
We have 4 girls and 1 boy.
Yeah. So difficult. Like, it would take, 3 hours to go to bed. And then he'd be up in the night for 3 hours.
Oh, that just would make things even more hard.
By the time he actually went to sleep, we were just like so mad at everything. Mad at him, mad at each other. Just mad.
Yeah. And it would be like, okay, either we can sit and talk and share about our days, or we can just watch Mr. Beast.
Zone out. Yeah. Or a documentary or do our own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. So super hard. I remember thinking, man, if this is what marriage is, or if this is what it is the rest of our life, like, and I remember you saying, you think of this, I don't want it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, not that I don't think we were ever like serious about like, okay, next steps or the D word, divorce, or the S word, separated.
Yeah, but sometimes those things sounded very
because it was
nice.
We're wired to move away from pain.
Yeah.
Right. And so we wanted, the biggest pain in our life was each other, and we wanted to just move away from that pain. And I just remember, and I think for you too, just having a lot of very just raw thoughts that were like scary too. And it's like, just feeling, what was the word you use? Hopeless. A lot of times.
Yeah. Hopeless. Like, okay, well, we can stay married, but
we'll
just not like each other the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I guess we'll do this.
Yeah.
And specifically, I guess I want to say that in this culture that we want to have in our church and in our community, in our family and in our town, this culture of authenticity and vulnerability, one thing that we've noticed And it's been really, I've really been seeing it, specifically last couple months, is that as a society, we are when we are going through difficult times, we pull back.
Yeah, we isolate.
We isolate from each other and from God, which is the exact opposite thing that you should do. And then when we finally decide to talk about it, we talk about it as though it's in the past and that used to be us, because that's further away. It's not us now, right?
Right.
So once our marriage is all hunky-dory and fine, then we talk about, oh, by the way,
Right.
we almost separated, or we it was the most difficult time. Well, nobody knew about it? Why didn't you bring anyone in? And I'm not saying we have it
No,
perfect,
I mean, like, even
but
us sitting here, it's like, well, we're not in this season anymore of it being really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still mending things.
yes,
But it's like, but
but it's still a little bit in the past.
Yeah.
It's easier to talk about
It is.
in the past for
yeah.
us. I'm the first to admit that. In the middle of that, that would be difficult to process. But as a culture, we talk about it in the past. Hopefully or luckily, if we've made through it, think of all the people that didn't actually make it through their marriage or their addiction or their difficulty, and they can't talk about it as a past thing because it didn't work out or it didn't turn out. And so,
or they find redemption.
yes,
And the Lord redeems that. And then, there's lots of stories like that, where there was pain that did end in separation, did end in divorce.
Yeah.
Right. And then the Lord actually does redeem that. And then you can talk about it.
right.
But it is
Yes,
true. It is really hard in that,
as
like,
a past testimony.
in the thick of it. How do you bring people into that? Like, we haven't known how to do that. Like, I think, in our season, you don't know how to bring people into it.
Yeah.
How do you think we could have done it? Bringing people into it.
I think to be honest, I think we did.
Yeah, that's true. We did. Jordan and Erica were super involved.
Yeah.
And
your parents,
my parents,
Luke, the board,
Yeah.
Glenn and Phyllis,
Jordan.
who was amazing. And they're going to be here
Mm-hmm.
in 3 weeks. Sign up now. But I guess, like, why do we say all that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we share all that?
Right,
Obviously,
what's the
we want you guys to get to know us. We want to get to know you. But I sincerely want to break the mindset that it's a whole bunch of things, but I want to break the mindset that you have to be perfect to walk with God, or you have to be perfect to be a leader, and you have to be perfect to be a spiritual leader, or you have to be perfect to be a husband and a father,
Or at least you have to look perfect.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It has to. You have to be able to make it look perfect. Like, it feels like maybe that's the expectation or the pressure is that it still like, okay, sure, you can have a mess going on, but me as whatever, what I want to see is I want to see that the leader can look perfect.
Yeah.
Like, sure, I know he's got mess behind him, but I don't want to see the mess. I want to see a strong leader who can lead us, which is like, there's validity to that, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've just realized recently, it felt like the Lord has brought, I was telling you about this. It's felt like the Lord has brought several kind of testimonies, well-known leaders or pastors or friends of mine or worship leaders. 3 worship leaders I'm thinking specifically.
right.
Well-known, that have written songs that are so powerful, and we sing them on Sunday, and where they've just recently shared, 4 years later, 4 years after that song came out, where they've shared how difficult and messy their personal life is,
Right.
or specifically their marriages have been,
yeah.
where one comes home and the wife says, I just want to let you know, comes home from touring a worship tour with this big new worship hit, and comes home and his wife says, I just want to let you know, I thought of packing up the kids and moving back to mom and dad's. And he says, I had no idea this was here.
Yeah.
But for leaders to be able to share that in the moment, and not just leaders, like everybody, for us as a culture to be able to share and be vulnerable in the moment, which I recognize that like it feels like we've come to this valley and we're a little bit up, and we already have a perspective that we can see how crazy that valley was.
Right.
But for us to be a people that can actually share that in the moment and recognize that God only uses messed up people. Look throughout scripture. It's messed up people that he uses. And you don't have to be perfect. Right. You don't have to have the perfect marriage, but you do have to be humble and allow him to move into your life, and not just humble. You have to allow yourself to be deeply humbled, which is a big thing. And to move into your life and allow him to work in your life. So we want to bring you guys in, not to say, I do not want this to come across that it's like for people to reach out to us and be like, hey, how you doing? I heard your marriage sucks. How can we pray for you? I mean, go ahead. We're totally fine with that. But more than that, we want to lead the way in authenticity and vulnerability and say marriage has not, maybe we could sum it up like this. I don't even know how long we are. There's no clock in here. But we could sum it up like this. Marriage has not been easy. That would be the most positive way to say it.
That would be the most simple way.
Yeah, positive way. Marriage has been very difficult. But we still love each other and we still like each other. And Jesus is doing a deep work in us. But we want to lead the way in vulnerability. And specifically say that we aren't out of the woods, and we aren't perfect now, and we aren't looking back on it as though like, oh, that was a long time ago. It's still hard. We still appreciate everyone's prayers, and you know what it's done actually, hon? I've done lots of marriage counseling, a lot of pre-marriage counseling in the last 10 years, and I have. Maybe this is a little confession, but I've definitely viewed it a little bit like, you know, somebody's marriage is in trouble. Okay, fill out these 200 questions and we'll do 3 sessions with you. And okay, are you fixed now?
Right.
Are you all better? It's given me a deep heart for people who are deep in the Shadowlands in their marriage, to use a Lord of the Rings quote.
The Shadowlands.
The Shadowlands? I think that's Lord of the Rings.
Lion the King.
Lion the King. The Lion King. Okay, maybe that is the Shadowlands. That's where all the elephants die, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't go to the Shadowlands. But people whose marriage are in the Shadowlands, it's given me a deep heart, and I think you too, just recognizing how freaking painful that is.
Oh yeah, and how much you too, like I just feel like I feel like I'm kind of emerging out of this fog of pain. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, there's like a couple months there where I couldn't think past anything. Like I couldn't think deeply or creatively or like into anything because this is taking, and it took a lot from our kids too. I feel so sad about how much our kids lost us because we were so in a fog with each other. Yeah.
And every tidbit spare energy we had went into
let's try to fix this. Let's try to fix this. Let's try to fix this. Yeah, and our kids definitely noticed that. Remember one time?
Yeah, specifically the older ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't even know how to end this. I am super, super hopeful for our marriage, hon.
Yeah.
Like I actually am. We're 10 years in.
Me too.
We're just 10 years in. And it feels like, especially, you know, even over the summer, last few months, like, I've always loved you, but like, I like you and I like hanging out with you and I like talking with you. It feels like we like each other again. And without getting into the specifics of like how we got
Right,
there. Like
right.
it's vast. It's super vast. Like
Yeah.
being vulnerable, being humble, dealing with sin issues, walking with people, counseling, being prayed for by many people. It's a ton of things. Connection codes, the truths of connection codes. It's
Even like going back into lies and like figuring out like
identity.
Identity has been huge for us, for me.
It's a ton of different things. But I would say, man, if you're in trouble,
thick of it.
if you're in the thick of it, and not just for your marriage, for anything, if you're in the thick of addiction, if you're in the thick of a sucky marriage, a marriage that's just on the rocks, a relationship with your kids, pull people in. Like, pull people in. Do not isolate. That's what wolves do to the bison herd. They're trying to isolate one so that they can take out that one. And that's how the enemy does it. As soon as it's isolated,
totally.
or you think like a coal or an ember, they all kind of keep each other going and keep each other warm. As soon as you pull it out, it's not long at all before that ember goes out. Get a church community.
Yeah.
Get counseling. Oh, that's the other thing. Counseling it hasn't single-handedly fixed it for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been so helpful. And I think there's a lie in this culture that you only get counseling when you are deep in shambles. It's like, well, no wonder counseling might have a bad rap. People only come to it when you're too far gone, where it's too late, where your marriage is too far, or the addiction. Obviously, God can do a miracle at any point. But it's like, man, I would love for it to be normalized that like you get help in every area of your life, mechanicking, carpentry, every single area, lawn care, getting sprinklers put in, whatever it is. But when it comes to your marriage or when it comes to your personal life, you think you're going to do it by yourself.
It feels like our culture tells us that.
Yeah. Look at sports. Sports.
Own.
Everyone has a coach. It's like, you need a coach. You actually need a coach. Obviously, Holy Spirit is our big C coach, our big guide.
Yeah, which
for
is
sure.
Has been a really big learning curve for me lately, is like realizing, the Holy Spirit is actually there.
Yeah.
In every moment.
Yeah.
To lean on every moment. But at the same time, I think like the certain pieces that we had in our life, like I think God placed people in our life.
Right.
You know, specific. I think probably the big ones for us are Jordan and Erica. Jordan and Erica.
They're amazing.
Just like they were like seriously in the messiest, thickest stuff. They were like right there. They would come to our house late at night and help us walk through things. And
yeah. And sometimes just to hang out, and it would just go there.
Yeah.
You know, and they're also such vulnerable people too. They're such real people. Like that is what's so attractive about them, is you just feel like, they're just so vulnerable. So super cool. We love you guys.
Anyways, bring people in.
Yeah.
Something that we're learning as well. Right.
I love you.
I love you.
Whoa. Okay. I like you.
I like you too.
Okay. Sorry. This is getting awkward. No, it's not. I do like you and I do love you. Thanks for being vulnerable, hon. And
and thanks for listening. Whoever is out there listening to this.
Yeah.
Talk about ourselves and our story. We do feel like it's definitely our heart to be known as leaders, I think, and to not be, isolated, I guess is the word, right?
Come on. I'll end with this. There's an old revivalist that says ingredients for revival is when men and women get real before God. That's the ingredients for revival. You want to know it? You want revival? You want revival in your family? Revival in your marriage? You want revival in your church, in your community? It's not just going to come when you start praying for revival, but you are completely acting in a facade and are a fake person. If you want revival, you get real. Ingredients for revival is when men and women get real before God. And that's when we started experiencing revival in our marriage, is when we started getting real.
Yeah.
Real before God. Revival in our church, it's when we stop walking in and saying, "How are you, brother?" "Oh, I'm great. Thanks. How are you?" And just being fake.
Right.
just being a facade. That's not who we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
We're learning to be real. So, okay. Love you. Love you
Love
guys.
you guys. Thanks for listening.
Until next time. See you guys next week.